how are you today? I'm Roberta Colasino, and I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator here in the Finger Lakes region of upstate New York. I didn't see any need to start with you seeing my face today, so that's why I just put the camera right down. I'm coming to you live for just a few minutes because I do very often receive questions about my coffee and a card class here in Newark. So at one point I was doing 2 classes a month, but one of them was at Erie Shore Landing, which is a coffee shop and restaurant here in Newark, New York. And that place took the classroom space that I was using and turned it into a retail area. So basically I lost my place to have a card class there. So right now I'm doing one card class a month at Grind On Coffee Company, which is also located here in Newark, New York. And I used to put posters up every once in a while, and then I found I really didn't need to anymore because the classes were filling up. I like to not have more than 6 people in a class if possible. The space at Grind On is a little small anyway, so I think everybody's more comfortable if we keep it at 6. But now we're getting to the point where people are traveling during the winter and traveling during the summer. Excuse me, I woke up with quite the sore throat this morning. And so the class isn't always full, but I have a lot of people who keep marking that they're interested, or if they run into me someplace, they say, tell me about it. I'm not very artsy craftsy. I'm pretty sure I can't do this. So I just wanted to let you know that you could do this. So these are samples of some of the cards that we've made over the last few years. I tried to remember exactly when the first coffee and a card was, and I want to say that it was July 2020. Although I can't say for sure if that's correct. I really have to look through my records to find out. And some of the same people have been with me. Some people have come and gone during the time. And most of the people, when they first came to Coffee and a Card class, would make 1, maybe 2 cards because that was the pace that they were working at. I would give them as much help as they wanted, but it's also a social thing, and that's why we hold it in a coffee shop. So there's a lot of chatting going on. And obviously when you're chatting, you don't work as much, and that's okay too, because it is meant to be a social crafting experience. So you can come to Coffee and a Card and make 1 card, in which case you pay $4. If you make 2 cards, it's $4 for the first card, and then $3 each for the second and third cards, and only $2 for the fourth card. And we're getting to the point where some of our more experienced crafters will definitely make 4 cards in a session. We have about 2 hours to work. And then that's about it. So I just wanted to kind of show you these cards. They're very pretty, but they're much more simple than they look. And I have not posted on Facebook. My group that I'm appearing in today is called 11 Lakes Stamper Creatives. I have not posted pictures of the cards that we're making in advance. I tend to post pictures of the cards afterwards instead. So... oh, hang on. I actually grabbed one of the wrong cards. So this is a card that we're going to make in this month's Coffee and a Card, which will take place a week from today, on Tuesday the 14th, I believe it is. And it is a very simple card. It looks very simple on the outside, but you may notice it looks a little chunky. And it looks a little chunky because it's what we call a fun fold card. And that's where some people immediately get intimidated and say, oh my gosh, I could never do that. I do the cutting for you. I do what's called the scoring for you. And basically you're doing the assembly with, like I said, as much or as little help as you like. I cut these pieces out for you. I will cut these pieces out for you. And then the sentiment is up to you. So let's just say that this said happy birthday. And you're sitting there watching this and saying, well, I don't need any birthday cards. I actually have a wedding coming up, or I have a graduation coming up. Then it's just as easy to change this sentiment, and I usually bring several sets of sentiments with me. So let me just kind of show you. Sometimes they're all sentiments. Sometimes there are sentiments and other things. So again, this might not be the design you would want for a sympathy card. It's a little too happy for that. It might not be the design that you would want for a wedding card, but what I'm saying is I would bring choices. So I would have happy birthday choices. I might have missing you choices. I might have a sentiment that says get well soon. The reason I like sentiments like let's celebrate you is because that sentiment once you open it up on the inside, could say happy graduation, happy birthday, happy retirement, happy, I don't know, whatever it might be. So there are lots of reasons to celebrate. So with a sentiment like that, it's kind of a generic card on the outside. And this is kind of a wow card. People get this and they think, wow, that's pretty cool. In case you're wondering how I come up with the combination of patterns where this one has strawberries and this one has a design, our designer series paper, as it's called, is almost always two-sided. And the two sides are meant to coordinate with each other, at least in terms of color. So it's very easy to create a card where you use both sides of the paper. And then, one of my sayings I tell people in class is no naked envelopes. So this is an envelope, but there's no reason why we can't stamp something on the envelope, or in this case, I just put a strip of the designer series paper on the envelope, because it really makes people happy when they open up their mailbox and pull out something like that, and they only have to look at it to know this is not a bill, this is not junk mail, somebody who likes me sent this to me. And you'd be just amazed, maybe you wouldn't be amazed, but a lot of people are, at how happy that makes people. Okay, so another card that we'll be making this Tuesday, a week from today, is this card. And I do keep them in card sleeves just to sort of protect them so that they stay nice and clean, because I do sell my cards at some point, but I always have one made that looks like a sample. So this one, again, I will do all the work for you in terms of cutting out the card base and cutting these layers for you. I sometimes pre-do some punches. So these are punched out with a squeeze punch. This is not the punch, obviously, but it's a punch that looks like this. You put your paper in, you squeeze it, and out comes that pretty design. Sometimes you punch without stamping ahead of time. Sometimes you punch after you've stamped. So I usually do some up ahead of time, but then I also bring the punch with me and bring some spare paper with me so that you can do some of your own as well. Also stamped on the inside of this, because how pretty does it look to have something on the inside as well. And then for the envelope, I might have the outside of the envelope stamped with something like that. So sometimes I stamp the outside of the envelope, sometimes I put a piece of paper on the outside of the envelope, anything you really want. And you get to choose the sentiments that you want. And because not all sentiments are created equal, this one says hello and doesn't take up a lot of space. This one says celebrate you and takes up a little bit more space. I also come to class with a package of things. So if you had some huge sentiment, you could put it on one of those. If you had just a sentiment that was small, like hello, or maybe a small happy birthday, you could use one of those. Or maybe you're going to want one of these ovals. So I come prepared with all of these different things that you can use depending on what sentiment you choose. So I just didn't want anybody to ever see that someone might have posted, I made this card at Coffee and a Card, and maybe it's a happy anniversary card, and maybe you're going to say, I don't send anniversary cards. Well, for you, it could be whatever you'd like it to be. The other thing I like to tell people in advance is, so let's just say that this is the card that we're making on Tuesday, which it is, and you have a need for what you think is a more masculine card. So you specifically want a card that's not pink or these colors. So you might want something in browns or blues or greens or whatever color you perceive as being masculine, or perhaps just the color that you know that that person likes. If you let me know enough in advance, and I can't promise this every single time, it kind of depends, I could certainly find you a card base. I have 50 colors to choose from, and I have all 50 colors of the card stock. That's the paper on the outside of the card. I could certainly choose something if you'd rather have blue or brown or beige or whatever you'd like, and I can probably find a piece of designer series paper that's also going to go with that and be of a different color scheme. If you absolutely know you do need an anniversary card or a sympathy card, let me know, and I'll make sure that I have one of those sentiments with me. So when you sign up for the class, you always have the ability to reach out to me on the group, and you also have the ability to reach out to me on the event itself, which is listed in Facebook under Coffee and a Card with Roberta. We had to change it and add my name because there are people doing coffee and a card in England and in Australia. And so if you just search coffee and a card, you get like 50 different possibilities for what that means, including, people who get together to play poker and have coffee and a card game. So I had a coffee and a card with Roberta, and somehow, or at least so far, that has not caused any problems. So please understand that you do not need any talent. You do not need any experience. A lot of it is pre-done for you. And what I have found over the years that I've been doing this is that the people attending my class have gone from wanting to make their card look exactly like mine to somebody saying, nope, I want my card going in this direction instead. So I'm going to turn my sentiment around that way. All right. And there's no reason why this card couldn't open that way, but you might not do it with one of these types of cards. You could also glue some things down to these sections that would fold in and would not be seen until you popped open the card. And so people now that come to my classes are really kind of spreading their wings and using their imaginations and not being afraid of making a mistake. So that's probably the last thing that I will mention, is that I always tell people there really are no mistakes in crafting. There are opportunities. So all of our paper has two sides. So if you stamp this, let's celebrate you, or happy birthday, or whatever sentiment you choose, and it doesn't come out right, you can flip it over and stamp on the other side. Our paper is of very good quality, and so it doesn't bleed through, or even, you can't even see it through there. And if you goof up two of them, then you know what? I give you another piece of paper. It's not a big deal. And nobody at that table is going to say anything to you because we've all done it. I do it regularly. Sometimes I put together a card and realize I put the outside of the card and it's going in the wrong direction. So we all make mistakes, and we can laugh at each other and laugh at ourselves and just have a good time. So for anybody who thinks they can't do this, I'm just here to tell you that you can. And if you like the idea of how happy a handmade card can make someone feel, then sign up for one of my classes, or pop in sometime on the second Tuesday of every month when we're having coffee and a card, and just look over our shoulder and see what we're doing. We've had people do that before, and that's fine. We can't accommodate big groups because it's a small room that we're in, but certainly we can accommodate a few people looking over our shoulder and asking some questions. So just give that a thought. We'd love to have you. I would love to expand back to having 2 classes a month. I'm currently looking for another location. And if you think of something or know of something, please let me know. All right. Thank you so much for taking a couple of minutes out of your time to let me explain some of these things to you. Have a great day.